Hey everyone, welcome to today's session. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to pretty much be talking about the club website refresh initiative today, which is being offered by District 7030 to all our Rotaract and Rotary clubs across our entire region. My name is Sean Patty. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the District 7030 Communications Officer, as well as the Public Image Chair for the district. And today, pretty much we're going to be joined by Melissa Wells, who is our go-to expert when it comes to the club website refresh initiative. Her company, Exnelio Designs, has been doing website design and, everything website oriented for quite a while. And she specialized over the last few years in doing these club website refresh initiatives. So at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Melissa, who will kind of get us started and explain exactly what the club website refresh initiative is, what it's about, what it can do to help benefit your club, and equally important, what it does not entail. So Melissa, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate that. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of an about myself. So a few quick words, if I may. My name is Melissa Wells. I've been a website designer running my own business for 20 years, as scary as that is. I live in Niagara, Canada. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Welland, and that is in District 7090. 7090 is not nearly as impressive for you guys since you span a whole lot of different countries, but we're kind of unique in our area that we span both Canada and the US in New York State. So that's kind of neat. And it was in the capacity as my club's public image director that I became acquainted with the Club Runner as a website building platform. I had redesigned my club site twice. First time with the old version of Club Runner. Any of you have ever dealt with it, you'll know why I redesigned it a second time with the new version of Club Runner software. And it was at that time that I caught the eye of our district and was asked to redesign their site. Of note, and this comes in a little bit later, I build most of my non-Rotary business sites with WordPress and also provide hosting for those clients who require that. So we'll get into that a little bit in a minute. So District 7030 is modeling the club website refresh program on an initiative that was successfully completed in 4 other districts so far in Canada and the United States. The first district-wide redesign project was spearheaded by 7090's Public Image Committee at the start of COVID. Our PI committee identified the membership crisis as being very closely tied to a poor online presence. And of course, during COVID, that was especially hurtful because that's the only way people were getting information with no face-to-face contact happening here. So there was very little information on what the clubs were doing in their communities and around the world. Outdated websites, branding inconsistencies, and no social media links. And there were no ability to join the clubs online either. Most of the clubs just referred to Rotary International's site and people would just get really confused and leave. So there was no membership happening online for sure. So we sought to address that need and at the same time, get all the clubs on brand, show their own personality in pictures of their actual club, and integrate social media and fill out the content pages. So we also found that most of the clubs just had the very basic Club Runner pages. So just a homepage, a contact form, and maybe a few stories that were horribly outdated typically. So part of this project was building out some of those content pages, which you'll see in a few minutes. So the initial project took place over a course of 6 months, and it saw 50 clubs, so 50, in 7090, redesigned or newly built. 7090 received the 2021 Zone 28 Award for improving Rotary's public image. And I'm just going to pop a video link in the chat If anybody wants to grab that and review it later, it's an interview with Zone 28 Public Image Chair Michael Caruso. And basically it goes over the whole project with several of the key people that were involved. So a little bit more information if you're into that a little bit later. A very crucial component of the long-term success of this initiative is the personalized club training call that teaches the web elements of Club Runner and encourages a content and social media strategy for future marketing. So I cannot stress enough how important this part of the project is. It actually takes each individual club and meets with only their team with their own website. We do it over Zoom and we record that call and you get that recording later. And therefore you can ask any questions specifically related to your club. So found that that was really, really helpful. Of the over 200 club websites that have now been completed, the majority have been done using Club Runner. However, in a few cases, Club Runner is not a perfect fit. Most of the time it's due to cost restraints. For these clubs, similar sites were built with WordPress and hosted by my company at a reduced hosting rate. The WordPress sites, though, carry the same look, same branding requirements, even right down to the same fonts that are recommended by Rotary International. And the club still receives all of their training on how to update the site, and they update their sites. Now, most of them have been updating them for over a year, and they seem to be doing pretty well with that. So everything else is the same, just that the two platforms are different for some different reasons. At this point, I think it's pertinent to point out that Club Runner itself as a software is a lot more than just a website management tool. It also encompasses a membership management, or a CRM, if you will, email newsletter components, and the ability to communicate with the district's website, among other things. So it's kind of important to, for terminology's purposes, to understand what Club Runner is and how much more it can do than just the website portion. So for the clubs that are opting to do a WordPress site, they are just getting the website management. They're not getting any of the extra bells and whistles that Club Runner has. So important to note. The process then of the project. So how does this pertain to you? How do you get started? So first, the club signs up with District 7030. Sean's going to touch on that a little bit. And then you complete the intake form. Intake form might look a little bit scary initially, but it takes less than 5 minutes to complete. It's really crucial that it get done, but it's only things like, what's your website address? What are your social media, your Facebook links, things like that. Dead simple. So don't forget that part. The order in which the intake forms are received also create the queue system for when clubs will get their redesign completed. So if we get an influx of 20 clubs sign up in a week, we're going to be going in order of who filled out that form first. So really important. If you're interested, don't wait too long to fill that out. Next, when it's your turn, a kickoff call will be arranged with the club's stakeholders. So that's you. That's your public image team. That's whoever you want to have input on what this thing looks like. With that kickoff call, we're going to go through several different design options. We need to stay on brand for Rotary, but you'd be surprised to see how many options you actually have for colors and layouts and things like that. So in that kickoff call, we're going to go through those design elements that you want to see. We're going to talk about any missing pages that you may not have. We're going to talk about flavor of your particular club, demographics, what some of your targets are, and what you have available. So we're going to be looking at your Facebook page to see if you've got pictures that we can pull from, and make a plan if you don't. If absolutely necessary, we can use stock photography from the brand center, but as you'll start to see, it's much better if you use pictures from your own club. That gives people in your community a flavor of who you are and who you are in the community. And that's really important. Stock photography is just not going to do that for you. So once we do the kickoff call, I actually have a relationship with Club Runner that they give me access to your site. So nothing further for you to do. We're trying really hard to reduce all the barriers of entry for you. So that component is done. I then get started after that kickoff call to implement all the things that we talked about. So redesigning and building out any of those content pages. I am doing that. You don't have to do any of that. A few clubs have asked or been hesitant about the whole process because they thought they had to do the work. That is not the case. I'm doing the work for you. Usually takes about a week for that to be completed. At that time, you're going to be able to provide any input that you see. If there are a few pieces of text that I require from you, such as your club's history or perhaps award winners, if you do Paul Harris Awards, something like that, you'll be able to contribute those in the course of the work. But at the end of that time, then we're going to book your training call. As I mentioned, that's done via Zoom, and that can be from anywhere from your entire club, if your entire club is interested, or just a few people that are actually going to be the boots on the ground doing the work. As mentioned, that training call is recorded. You receive that afterwards, so that if you have anyone that you can get on board at a later time, or you just need to review a few things yourself, then you can do that. That training call only encompasses the website elements of Club Runner. So the website management tool, the stories, and the events. As noted earlier, Club Runner does a lot of other things, and this is not meant to be a conclusive tutorial on Club Runner. So website elements is what we're going to cover there. And I think now we come down to the show and tell, if that's okay. So I'm just going to show you a few different things here. Start my screen share. So first of all, for more information and to get the process started, your district site has the refresh information under support, Club Refresh Initiative. So from here, you've got lots of great information here. And you also have, after payment, the intake form. So this is what I mentioned. It looks a little bit big, but it's really not. It's just standard address information and easily accessible stuff. This is also important because this little waiver gives Club Runner permission to put me on as access. So that's just something that you need to cover ourselves there. Now, a few of the sites that have been done, few before and afters first. So here's what a typical site would look like before. As you can see, long scrolling, tons of text, and just kind of goes on forever. And then this is the redesigned site. Very photo forward, very minimal text. The homepage is meant to be a springboard into the site further for what the user is interested in. We don't want to overwhelm them with all this text here because they're never going to read it and they'll just bounce off. Here's another example of the old version and then the new version. There we go. Here's another before. So this is a club in Western Canada. Another perfect example of long running on information, outdated information, things on the homepage that really don't need to be there. And this is stuff that we'll discuss during your kickoff call. What does your site look like right now? What should stay? What should move to other pages? Now, this site now looks like this. So this is the after of this site. Again, very intentionally using hero units that link to important areas of the website deeper, club news, upcoming events, advertising their sponsors, just really photo forward and really key information to let the user drive their experience through the site. Club Runner offers different layouts and different colors. So we have lots of different options between the various color schemes that Rotary lets us use. Here's a couple that are actually approved Rotary colors. And finally, the theme colors for this year as well. This is how that one works out. Now, these are Club Runner sites. Here's an example of a bunch of the WordPress sites. So hopefully you won't notice a tremendous difference between the two. They do maintain the same fonts that Rotary wants us to use, same branding standards. Here's another one. Can use different colors, of course, with WordPress as well. And a lot of the same elements of an event calendar, stories, blog, contact information, everything like that. So again, we'd like to encourage the use of Club Runner whenever possible, just because it integrates so much better and to district, and it does so many other things. But we have made an opportunity for clubs that it just isn't a good fit with these WordPress sites instead. So I think that draws the end of my talking head. So I think we're ready for Sean, if you wanted to jump in and deal with some of the specifics, and then we can take some questions.
Sure. Thanks, Mel. So I just want to, before I get into the aspect of cost to clubs, I just want to reemphasize and recontextualize exactly where this entire initiative lies with regard to your club and your club within District 73. So over the last few years, there's been a concerted effort, by Rotary International, by our zone 34, by the district, to kind of get clubs to up their game when it comes to public image. And one of the aspects, or one of the key aspects with regards to public image, given the day that we live in, is a good club website. It is, a very crucial online asset for every club to have, because it essentially is one of the first portals for, members of other clubs, or more importantly, sometimes even the general public, to, find out about your club, right? Everybody's gonna say, hey, I wanna find out about the Rotary Club of blah, blah, blah. And, first thing they're gonna do is go and type your club's name into Google, and it's whatever comes up, right? So sometimes if your club has a website, that's the website that'll come up and they'll take a look at it. So if the website is not looking too good, or if it looks like it's, from the early 2000s instead of the 2020s, or, if no website comes up at all and it's a Facebook page or whatever, it's not the best brand, or it's not the best look for clubs in today's world. So that's why it's really important that if your club does not have a club website, that you should have one. And that if you do have a club website, that it maintains a certain look and feel and ease of use and whatnot for the people that are going to be going to it. Your club website essentially is your primary go-to when it comes to an online asset, for again, both your membership as well as the public at large. And, when we talk about the public at large, we kind of we mean several groups, right? We mean everybody who supports your club, whether it's, buying tickets for an event or helping out with a particular project or activity, to, companies and organizations you want to partner with, whether it's for sponsorship or some other type of assistance. They want to know that the organization that they're going to be working with, that is your club, has a good online presence, is going to, step up when it needs to, is putting out the proper type of branding. So this initiative is really to make sure that all our clubs, Rotary and Rotaract, get to a certain minimal level when it comes to their online presence in particular, and in this case, with regards to their club website. So that's what really this initiative is all about. Within our district, we have clubs that, have a website, don't have a website, have a decent website, have a not so decent website. We have clubs who can access their website, clubs who have no idea how to access their website. All these different variations exist right now amongst our, 74 Rotary clubs and about 46 Rotaract clubs. So again, what we're really trying to do here is give clubs a kind of helping hand to get your websites in order and to make sure that not only is it going to be user-friendly for both your members and the public and contain good information, but it becomes really a valuable and sustainable asset of your club. With that said, what I'm going to kind of mention a little bit now is with regard to costs, because that's something that's going to be obviously a big deciding factor in whether or not your club wants to participate in the Refresh initiative. It's something that a lot of clubs would have to get board approval on because it's going to be a new budget item or whatnot, whether it's something that you can afford right now, whether it's something that you can stick a pin in and pay for at some other point in time during the year, whatever may be the case. I'm going to just kind of touch a little bit on the cost to the club. So overall, the total cost of doing a club website refresh, whether it's starting a brand new site for your club or whether it's refreshing your existing site, the total cost is $300. What District 7030 has done, again, it's to kind of, lend a helping hand to clubs, is the district is going to pay half of that for every club that signs up for the initiative. So the district is going to pay 150 out of the 300. That means the club is only going to have to pay 150. And what that 150 entails is everything Melissa kind of described. Once you pay your 150, you fill out the application form that Melissa showed. Things kind of get moving from that point, right? You still have the kickoff meeting with Melissa. You go through all the different options and talk about content and layout and design that you want to have for your website. Melissa and her team kind of get to work on it, and once everything's finished, you have that kind of training session again with Melissa. All of that is included in the $150 that your club is expected to pay. And again, the district will pay the other 150. That's going to be the district's contribution to help clubs kind of get a leg up and, get their websites up and running and looking great. There is a catch, and this is the catch. And again, a lot of this and all of this information actually is on the district website. The links are posted in the chat box if you guys want to go and check them out in more detail. But essentially, we're helping out clubs, but with a bit of expectation. And the expectations are essentially that clubs are going to make sure that, we hit all the standards and all the criteria when it comes to public image that we want to hit. So once everything is completed with Melissa and her team and your website is up and running, there are these kind of 5 criteria that we would want to see every club that goes through the initiative execute within about 10 days or so of the website being finished and up and running, right? And we're a bit flexible on that 10 days, but try and aim for 10 days or less. So, the criteria will include things like, all your logos need to be current and correct, right? You want to make sure that you have at least 3 club meetings or events kind of demonstrated or showcased on your website in some way, shape, or fashion. We want to make sure that you have at least 3 club stories there. We want to make sure that you're promoting your new website, whether it's a newly designed site or a brand new site from scratch, promote it on social media. Get the word out for people to come and check out your new site, drive traffic towards it. And then, of course, we want to also promote it, if you want via your club emails. If you do a club newsletter, make sure that it's included in that. And again, we're flexible with that 10-day period because we know sometimes, clubs may not necessarily publish a newsletter. It's obviously not every 10 days, but it may not be every month. It may be every couple of months or every quarter, you know, but a lot of these things, at least like the first 3 or 4 of them, can be done definitely within the first 10 days after your website is up and running. Where we will be a bit stringent on things is if your club fails to meet most, if not all of these criteria, yeah, the district is not going to like that too much, and your club may be charged the $150 that the district paid, because it's not really living up to the promise that it made to make sure that your club has a good and functioning and on-brand website. So again, it's not difficult. It's things that, you know, you're more or less automatically committing to by wanting to even partake and participate in the initiative. So we just want to make sure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and that clubs are actually going to be doing what they need to do in terms of sustaining their website and maintaining it over a period of time by making sure that they start off correctly with this type of checklist. I want to emphasize as well what is not included in the cost of the refresh initiative, right? If your club already is subscribed to Club Runner or plans to subscribe to Club Runner, that is not included in the cost of the initiative. That's not included in the $150. That's a separate cost between yourself and Club Runner. If your club chooses not to subscribe to Club Runner and wants to host its website on a different service, whether it's WordPress or, you know, something else out there, that's again a cost that's separate to the initiative. It's not included in the $150. It's something that the club will have to pay separately for. And then last but not least, domain name registration and renewal. So when we talk about domain names, what we mean is if you want your actual, you know, website address that's going to be going out to the public to say something like, you know, Rotary Club of any town, instead of something really long or something that just really doesn't make sense, that's a domain name, and you have to pay for that, and you have to register it, and you have to renew it, you know, whether it's renewed every year, renewed every 3 years, some are renewable every 5 years. That cost when it comes to domain names is, again, not included in the $150 for the refresh initiative. It's something that the club would have to pay for separately. So again, it is, you know, we don't want to oversimplify things. We don't want to mislead anyone. There are costs that are going to be associated with getting your club website up and running, or, you know, making little tweaks on it. So we want to make sure that everybody's aware of it, so that when you actually do the full investigation on should my club or can my club start a new website, is it within our budget? These are the things you need to make sure that you explore properly and you tally all together, because all of them are going to be associated with the cost of a new website or the cost of a renewed website. Last thing I just kind of wanted to share with everybody is, you know, when we talk about making sure that our clubs within our district meet certain standards, this is kind of a very short checklist of online assets that every club, and I mean every club, Rotary and Rotaract in District 1730 should have, right? So as we're advocating with this session and what we're talking about is that, you know, every club should have a club website. Ideally speaking, it should be a club website with a good domain name, right? So, you know, it shouldn't be something that looks really weird. It should be a domain name that is easy to remember and easy for people to recognize straight off the bat. So in other words, you know, some clubs that currently subscribe to Club Runner actually have a, you know, website address that starts with, you know, portal.clubrunner.ca/7024. That's a really weird website address. And that's because clubs that have that have not opted to pay for and get a kind of signature domain name. We're advocating that you do, where it's not a mandatory thing, because again, all of these are costs, but it just looks better and it adds to your club's brand when you have a really nice domain name to go along with your website. On a parallel note, every club, and again, when we say every club, we mean Rotary and Rotaract, should have at least one social media account. And ideally speaking, when we talk about that, we're going to hit the biggest two, right? You should have at least a Facebook page or at least an Instagram account. There's a major difference that some people may or may not recognize between a website and a social media account. The two are by no means the same. They target different goals, and they, serve different purposes. You need to have both, essentially. You need to have a website and you need to have a social media account. What's great is, as Melissa kind of touched on a bit, we can get to link the two, right? We can have your social media feed into your website. So that's going to kind of provide almost, regular updates and make your website look like it's being updated on a regular basis. But it's not actually, doesn't require you to manually do it. It's all coming from your social media feeds. But the emphasis here is that every club needs to have at least one social media account. And last but not least, clubs by now should have an official public club email address. That's the email address that, you want to share with everyone that's representative of the club. It's not an individual or personal email address. It's the club's email address. Some people opt to pay for things like that. Some people opt to use free services, whether you want to use something like Gmail or whatnot. Whatever you choose to do when it comes to your public club email address, it should be something that is, looks official, is easy to remember, and is sustainable. And by sustainable, what we mean is, more than one person should have access to it. More than one person should be able to check it. More than one person should be able to hand it over from year to year when, whomever is responsible for club communications, whether it's the club secretary, executive secretary, PI chair, president, whomever it may be, handover is not going to become an issue, right? It's not going to be a matter of, we can't remember passwords or we can't remember. No, that should not be the case. All those systems should be in place, every year, so that it's easy to hand over and it's easy to maintain the exact same club email address from one year to the next. That's about it as far as a kind of quick summary of everything. At this point, we want to try and make sure we give you guys enough time to ask any questions and address any concerns you may have. I know there's a lot of stuff that we tried to cover within that, 30, 35-minute period. And we're happy to take any questions whatsoever that you may have. Once again, if you prefer, you can put your question in the chat box, but we really like it if you'd like to ask your question live. Just go ahead and use the raise hand function in Zoom. It's under your reactions button on your Zoom toolbar. Once your hand is raised, you'll be unmuted and recognized to speak. So at this point, we'll open the floor up to questions if anybody has. Okay, we got our first one from Stephen. Oh, go ahead, Stephen. You should be able to unmute, Stephen.
Yes, there I am. Thank you. Stephen Cozy, Rotary Club of Barbados. I wonder whether the Rotary District 7030 will assist the clubs in registration of domain names, or will we have to seek that out on our own?
I can say yes. Speaking on behalf of the district, it's something we can assist you guys with. But I can also kind of pass it over to Melissa and see if that's something that, as part of the overall initiative and what it contains, if that's something that she and her company can assist with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are going to go with the Club Runner version of a site, I highly recommend that you have Club Runner register the domain name, because it actually ends up being cheaper in the long run. When they do it, they also include the setup and the secure socket layer, which gives you that little lock icon in the top of your browser, which is actually really important. When you purchase your domain name outside of Club Runner, they charge a cost to integrate it all in and do that SSL certificate. So if that's the direction you're going and you don't have a domain name already, that's what I recommend. Much easier. If you are going the WordPress option, I can certainly help you with registering that domain and getting that all linked up. So again, the goal is reduce barrier to entry as much as possible. So whatever it is that you need, questions like that are excellent. We can help you one way or the other. If you already have a domain name and you're doing the Club Runner route, there is an option for integrating it. It does have a cost associated with it though. If you're going the WordPress route, there is no additional cost to it, and hosting includes the SSL certificate, and I would help you then link it up. So.
Does that answer your question okay, Stephen?
Yes, indeed. Thank you. But I have a follow-up question now.
Sure.
This is for Melissa. Would you have any idea of an indicative cost of the Club Song Club Runner? Because our club uses Club Runner, you know, to get a domain name registration.
Oh, I could follow up. I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay.
So.
Okay, well,
try to find it in the course of the next half hour. Not guaranteed that I will, but I will try.
By all means, I mean, if I give Sean my email address, which I think he probably has, if you could send it to me, I'd like to have some idea.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Stephen, I can kind of answer the question for you with a rough estimate, right? So with Club Runner, you have the option of subscribing for a domain name on a yearly basis, on a 3-year basis, and on a 5-year basis. Obviously, the longer you subscribe for it, the cheaper it is per year. I want to say that for clubs, the cost for, let's say, a 3 or 5-year option is anywhere between 25 to 30 US per year.
Yeah, that is ringing a bell. I was thinking around 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's easily manageable. I have a personal email domain, and it costs way more than that. That's why I was kind of concerned about but $25, $30. This is just one. This has nothing to do with the size of the membership, I think.
No, we're not talking about the cost to subscribe to Club Runner. We're talking purely about the cost for domain name registration and renewal.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful.
No worries. What you just mentioned there with regards to the size of your membership, the size of your membership will affect what your annual subscription cost is to Club Runner.
Club Runner, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate the question. Yeah. Got another question here from Mark from Rotary Club of Paramaribo, Koto. So it's actually directed towards you, Melissa. Mm-hmm. So does Melissa help build the WordPress site if we choose that option?
Absolutely. Yep. It's the exact same approach whether you pick Club Runner or WordPress. So the kickoff call is the same, the build out is the same, and then the training call at the end is the same.
Great. Mark, I hope that answered your question, and feel free if you want, use the raise hand button in Zoom if you want to ask a follow-up question, or if you have anything else that you want to put to us. Anyone else with any questions, please feel free, again, use the raise hand button in Zoom. You'll be unmuted, or feel free, go ahead, post your questions in the chat box. Floor is open to you guys. Silence is always a good thing. Or not.
That means we answered a lot of questions.
I know. I will actually speak on something really quick, and while we're waiting for another question to pop in. So again, what the process is going to entail is, if your club is interested, if your club, decides, hey, this is definitely something we want to do, and that we will benefit from taking part in the initiative and getting the help. Again, whether it's to start a new website or whether it's to refresh your existing website, take your time, go to the website refresh initiative page on the district website. understand exactly what's involved. Once you're pretty much sure that it's going to be something that you're interested in, you can go ahead and make the payment. Once that payment is made, the third step is to fill out the application form. That's what Melissa showed, where you kind of put in some basic information about your club. And then that's really what kicks things off, right? The district will make sure and cover the balance of the payment, and Melissa will follow up with each club with that kickoff meeting to discuss things. From there, she goes into building the site for you. Once everything's kind of finalized with the site, that's when your club can have that orientation and training meeting with Melissa that kind of closes things off, where she shows you guys how to do things like updates, how to maintain the site properly. That's kind of the end of the process there, right? But again, just to emphasize, whether or not your club participates, the idea here is all clubs should have a website, and all clubs should have a website that meets certain standards. And if it is that, you have questions with regard to what are those standards, whether my club should have whether my club's current website meets those standards, anything with regards to the website initiative and club websites on a whole, feel free. You can always reach out and ask us and we can kind of, walk you through the entire thing, discuss the options that are available to you guys. I just put the email address that you can send, to the district, and we'll get in touch with you. I know, so I have a question from Terry here, and I'm going to get to you in a sec, Kadeen. Terry's asking, does the effort focus primarily on the homepage or the homepage only?
Yep. To answer that, I'm just pulling up, you should be seeing my screen. So this is one of the clubs that was redesigned. And the answer is no, it doesn't just focus on the homepage. It also focuses on building out all of these content pages as well. So this club was a perfect example that they really just had a homepage, a few stories, and a contact form. And we built out everything as part of the project with all of these content pages. In fact, these pages are pretty important, whether they're stock Rotary text, which a lot of this is videos and text on what is Rotary, or the 7 areas of service and all that kind of stuff. But the membership page, absolutely crucial for every club to have, and the membership form that allows people just to fill it out online. It gets emailed to your club, information on levels of membership, etc. Contact page, most clubs only have a contact form if they've done it through Club Runner. Integrating a proper contact page that has a Google map that links to your meeting location, contact forms, maybe a Facebook feed here, information on how to get in touch. Some clubs have grant request forms on their site so that the public who is looking for funds can fill it out. It has project details, timelines, things like that, and an emailable form. And then, of course, what you do. So very important to list out what you do in your community, what you do internationally. So in our kickoff call, this is all the kind of stuff we're going to be going through. I'm going to be asking you, what do you do for youth services? What do you do internationally? So that we can come together and create these pages for you. Okay. Does that answer your question, Terry?
Hope so. Okay, so we got Kadeen here. Kadeen, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like.
Hi, Sean and Melissa. So I just have 2 questions. The first one is, how easy is it to upgrade from WordPress if we decide to go with that initially to Club Runner? And secondly, does anyone check the website like every quarter just to ensure compliance?
First question is, it's not unfortunately all that easy. It would require a redesign because you're taking everything from one system to a completely different one. The only benefit is that all of the text and the videos and such are already done for you. So that part would be easier, but it's still basically rebuilding out the site. And then for compliance, that's a Sean question. I'm not sure what he's going to do quarterly.
So not to put the fear of God into everybody, but Sean checks everybody's website on a monthly basis.
Ooh, there you go.
So yeah, it's something, like I said, it's, you know, RI, the zones, the district, we're all trying to make an effort to make sure that clubs are compliant and that are kind of meeting certain basic standards and criteria, and helping them to do so. Not just, you know, it's not just a matter of us looking to wave our finger and say, hey, you're doing something wrong, but we want to make sure that we offer assistance to help you do the right thing, and to make sure that we're all on brand and that we all you know, meet those minimum standards and not give anybody an excuse to point any fingers in the future. I will actually come back and add to something Melissa said with regards to if you were to start off on, let's say, something non-Club Runner based, so like WordPress, and you wanted to switch over to Club Runner. What Melissa described is absolutely correct. If you want to do a full switch, as in, you know, go completely over from, let's say, something like WordPress into Club Runner, where Club Runner is now going to host your website, it is going to essentially be like starting from scratch and having to build something brand new. However, there is an alternate kind of intermediary option as well. For those of you who may or may not know, Club Runner offers different versions of its package to clubs. The full version gives you everything. It gives you the website hosting ability. It gives you member management services. It gives you all those bells and whistles. However, there's also kind of 2 scaled down versions of Club Runner that your club can subscribe to as well. One is in the case of where you already have a website hosted by a non-Club Runner service like WordPress, you can subscribe to the Club Runner admin only package. And what that does is essentially you can keep your existing website on WordPress or whatever else you're using. And you essentially just put kind of a link to access Club Runner's back-end services or its admin or member management services. And it kind of solves the problem in that sense. Now, it does mean that you will be paying 2 different sets of people for stuff. You'll be paying WordPress or whomever for your website hosting, and you'll be paying Club Runner for your back-end member management stuff. But it is a way of avoiding having to redo everything in your website and still get additional features from Club Runner. So I hope that kind of answered your question, Kitty. Okay, we got one here from Elishba. My club does not have a website currently, so everything would be done from scratch. Would the cost be the same? And also, is Club Runner or WordPress mandatory? I believe I missed the part where you were explaining that. Okay, I can take that one, Melissa. So yes, if you are starting from scratch, your club does not have a website, has nothing whatsoever close to a website, this applies, and it's the same cost to do it. It's the same $150 that a club would pay to have Melissa and her team build out the website for you. So again, whether it's a brand new website or whether it's refreshing an existing website, it's the exact same cost and kind of almost the exact same process. As to whether or not Club Runner or WordPress are mandatory, we don't like using strong words like mandatory, especially in Rotary, right? I will say this, Club Runner is the preferred option. And the reason that it's the preferred option is because not only do you get everything in one package, if you go with that standard offering from Club Runner, you get the website hosting facility, you get the member management facility with all the bells and whistles, like, you know, the event manager, dues and billing, attendance manager, all those different things come with Club Runner's backend. That's why it's kind of the preferred option. But Club Runner, you know, may or may not be affordable to everybody at this point in time. So we'll never say it's something you have to use. It's just preferred. one of the other great advantages of Club Runner, or of a club using Club Runner, is that it directly links to the district's Club Runner. So, you know, you will be, everything that you kind of, you know, update and provide on your club's version of Club Runner ties in and integrates with the district version. So everything's kind of neat and tight that way. But it's not mandatory, and we will never say that it is mandatory. As far as your website is concerned, WordPress is a great second option to Club Runner. It is flexible. It is relatively easy to use. It is pretty affordable. So that's why, in terms of an our first alternative option to Club Runner when it comes to club websites, we would suggest WordPress. It's, again, just easy to use, universal, you know, and relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of other website hosting services and platforms out there. If you have another one that you've been looking into, I mean, you know, we will make every attempt and try our best to accommodate another website hosting service that a club may be currently using or may choose to use. But, you know, those are our preferred options for clubs for several reasons. So, Alicia, I hope I answered your question okay. If not, you can always add something in the chat box, so you can raise your hand and ask it live. Melissa, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to what I just went through.
Nope, that was really comprehensive. And I mean, the reason that I, in my business, chose to go with WordPress and then for Rotary Club's Club Runner is because of the flexibility and the robust nature of both of them. So if you get into something like Wix or Weebly or Squarespace or something like that, they are proprietary softwares, which means that only their own software developers can design code or functionality for them. So if you want the photo gallery to look a little bit different, you're out of luck because they've got kind of one way of doing things, whereas WordPress is open source, so anyone can design for it. And then, of course, Club Runner is very robust, really directed towards running Rotary Club sites. So that's kind of why we land on those ones. Not that I'm not familiar with the other ones, but I prefer not to use them when I don't have to.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat box, and I'm not seeing anybody else's hand raised. So I'm just going to give everybody another minute or so before we kind of close off here. Again, if you have any kind of question whatsoever, doesn't matter, you know, what it's about, anything to deal with your website, feel free to post it in the chat box or use the raise hand button in Zoom, and you'll be unmuted to speak and ask your question live. While we wait for that, again, I'll just reemphasize, this is something that we hope as many clubs within District 7030, both Rotary and Rotaract clubs, are, you know, enthusiastic and able to participate in. We really want to see club websites kind of, you know, step up a bit. A lot of clubs have websites, but I will go out on a limb here and say a lot of our club websites kind of look a bit out of date. Some of them are out of date. Some of them have not been updated or anything been put into them for quite some time. There are sites that have, you know, old logos, outdated logos, information that dates back, you know, 3 to 5 years ago. And again, it's not a good look for your club when that's the case. When somebody can find that online, do a, you know, search for your club on Google, and that's what comes up, it does not bode well for your club. It is not a good look at all. It speaks to, you know, not being on brand, number one, but also it just speaks to your club being okay with something subpar out there about it. And no club should be okay with anything subpar about it being publicly accessible. Oh, we got a question from Stephen. Go ahead, Stephen. You can unmute.
Yeah. My question, are we ready to start this whole process now? I mean, from tomorrow tonight, or is there a kind of
It's ready.
It's ready? Okay.
Yeah. So we've been putting announcements out about this now for about a month or two.
Yeah.
So we've been ready.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, my advice is, you know, go over it, have a discussion with your club, with your board, with whomever. You know, once you come to a decision and you're 100% sure, you know, it's something you want to do, the next step is to pay the $150 and then fill out the application form. And then that's, like I said, when things really kick off, Melissa will contact the primary person in your club, schedule a meeting that will kick things off with the discussion in terms of, you know, what do you want, content wise, look wise, layout wise, color wise, all those different things.
And I promise the hardest part is filling out the form. It'll be really easy. I'll walk you by the hand from that point on.
But to answer your question in a nutshell, Stephen, yes, green light all the way from now. Yeah. Okay. So we're coming up on 7:30 and it would be an hour. And I wanted to make sure that we kept this tight to an hour and not keep anybody back and be respectful of everybody's time. So first off, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I hope there are no outstanding questions or any misunderstandings about what this initiative is and how it can benefit your club, how it can benefit your club's public image. If there are, feel free. For those that don't have, you know, any contact information, I'll put it in the chat box again. You can shoot me an email at any time and, you know, just ask away. Ask any question you'd like with regards to this initiative, with regards to your club website, what's expected of you, where you think you're at, what the district thinks of your site, right? And, you know, we'll help everybody along the process. In addition to that, I really want to thank Melissa Wells for taking time out to join us and go through this stuff. Melissa's, like I said, our official go-to person, the district's official go-to person with regard to this initiative. She and her company have been doing this for quite a while now in several other districts with several other clubs. You know, she has the experience on what is needed and can provide, I'm gonna go out there and say can provide the easiest transition when it comes to your website right now. So really want you guys to walk away from here with as much information as possible and as much confidence in what this is going to help you guys do and how it'll help your club elevate itself public image wise. Again, if you have any, you know, questions or concerns afterwards, shoot us an email and we'll make sure and, you know, get back to you on it. Other than that, thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys were able to get something good out of this and hope that a lot of you sign up and participate in the initiative in the next few days, weeks, or months to come. Thanks, guys.